Today we're here with the Saga, an artist from Sweden who now lives in Berlin. Their sound is cinematic, calming, and like a beautiful folklore combined with a song. Welcome, Saga. We're glad to have you on here.
Hi, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
First up, how would you describe your music in general for maybe our readers that don't know you?
I always say that it's like cinematic, glitter, morbid because like it's very morbid when you look at the lyrics, but it hides behind this glittery surface of the soundscape and like witchy folk music. So that's the package, and it's like a fairy tale coming to life.
Sounds beautiful. How did you get started with that kind of music? Because of course, folklore and that vibe, it's a genre, but why did you decide on that?
Well, like in Sweden, fairy tales are like what you grow up with, and folk music is very like big in the music sphere when you start learning an instrument. For example, I started playing violin when I was 6 years old, so I kind of started getting into that already. And then as I grew up, I like went away from it a little. But then when I did my high school finishing project, I did an EP, and I wanted to do an album, but it was an EP in the end. Um, and it was coming back kind of to that like child sense of the folky vibes, and I lived very close to a forest and like did all of the themes and like the videos and everything there for it. So um yeah, I guess it kind of comes from that.
Sounds really good. I mean, also your name, it sounds like an epic story itself, right? Is this also where your inspiration come from, or what made you decide to that name?
It's actually my own name. So my name is Saga.
Oh, I
So it
love
comes
that.
from yeah. And that is also why the fairy tale is kind of in it, because in Swedish, saga also like is the word for a story. So I've always been connected with that and been like not teased, but you know when you're a child and you like tease people for what their name means, kind of. So it's always been in and around me. So that's where the name comes from.
That's so cool. Like, I love that name.
Yeah.
Just generally, I would say your music could also come from a fairy tale itself, right? It could come from any book. Where do you take your general inspiration from while writing?
It comes from nature a lot, and also from different books and from writing myself. I love to write different stories and stuff, and my song The Saga was based on a fairy tale that I started writing, so that story is an actual fairy tale as well. And my debut single was inspired by Work Song um, by Hosier. So, like, it comes from many different places, but yeah.
I mean, that's kind of one of my other questions as well, because I mean, you just released your new EP titled Pluviophilic Poetry with the three new songs. I would just go through it a little bit. You already said your self-titled song, The Saga, was inspired from that, which is so cool. I love how it starts with the words long ago, far from home, and it has that kind of introduction to that epic, story. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I mean, it kind of, I feel like you go a little bit about, about this hero in that story as well. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that song?
So, like I said, it's based on this fairy tale, right? So, it's about a princess in a dying kingdom, and it's dying because of drought. And then it's been foretold that she will, like, her one true love is the one that's going to save the kingdom. And it ends up being Poseidon. So, he comes and saves the kingdom by bringing the rain with him. So, that's what the story is based on. And then like there's a bunch of different plot lines in that story as well because she has four other sisters that are older than her. And so my second song, The Divine, is based on some of the other storylines in that and everything.
Also, it's like all interconnected and everything. That's so cool. I love that. How did you like look for that? I mean, there's so many epic stories out there. Did you just like say, okay, that's my favorite one I've read so far and I really want to write a song about that? Or is it more, yeah, by chance?
Yeah, like when I kind of started the concept, I was reading the Song of Achilles and I highlighted words that I thought were cool, and that kind of became the divine. And then at the same time, I was writing the saga, and I showed my friend this like hook that I wrote for it, and she was like, "Oh, you sang Poseidon. That's really cool." And I was like, "I actually didn't, but that works perfectly." And then it kind of blossomed from there.
Oh, that's so cool. I love when like all your friends are chiming in. Is it generally something that you do? Like, do you have people that are in the process or songwriting or, you know, a band that's going in, or is it more like self-produced?
My first few songs were self-written, and like I love that kind of vibe as well. But I have the friend that I was talking about, Ida. She also writes a little with me, and she wrote Ocean Hymn actually, that is on the EP. And so I get some like advice and stuff from there as well. And The Divine was written with my friend Aditya, who goes under the artist name Hulo. And yeah, so I do write with other people a lot as well. And since I'm in university for songwriting, we do a lot of courses on like writing together. So it's something I enjoy, but I also really enjoy writing by myself as well.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned it. Your second song is called "The Divine," and you said it. It's like a duet with Hula. And I really just love how your voices come together. Um, can you just like say a little bit about the collab and like the general song and lyricism in it?
Yeah, so like I said, while reading this book, I got really inspired and started writing the chorus for the song. And it became this um, about like a queen that falls in love with a servant, or rather, the servant falls in love with the queen. Like it's a little secret lesbian relationship. And I really, really loved the story, but I couldn't move forward. I wrote the first verse and the first chorus, and I was like, okay, this is so great, but I couldn't find the inspiration to write the second verse, and it was really hard. And then I came up with the idea that, okay, in this story, there is actually two secret gay relationships. And so I talked with my friend Adi, and um, he was also in my band at the time. And I talked to him about the story, and he had also read the book. And so the second verse became about the king and his secret relationship, kind of.
Yeah, I actually like that perspective in a way, like the perspective change of the gender, I guess. You know, because usually it's always about like one person and, you know, and that just has that perspective change, which I love.
Yeah.
Um, and generally, I think a lot of people kind of can, how you say it, like interface with it, like they can relate to it a little bit. So really, really nice song. Um, generally, also like your third song, you already, you know, said it a little bit. It's called Ocean Hymn.
Mhm.
Um, personally, I think it's beautifully written. Um, and I think you already mentioned your songwriting process. Maybe a little bit about your musical production. Do you play your instruments yourself, or how long does it take you to write one song?
Oh, that's a big question. Okay, so like I can sit down like in one sitting and write a whole song, and that's usually my favorite songs because they're just like natural. And that doesn't happen so often, but yeah, so my songwriting process can also be longer. And then the production, when I produce myself, I do it kind of like um, writing as I go. And so the arranging happens during the production process. And that happened with Haunted Home and Rose of Somebody's because I produced those myself. And then this EP was produced by my friend, and he came into the process after I had rehearsed all of the songs with my band. And so in those three songs, the instruments are played by the band. So we have the bassist and the drummer and everything. Um, but then there's like the violin I played. I can also play most instruments. So in Rose of Somebody's, there's a piano. It's not very vocal, but like it's there, and I play that. And then I played the guitar in Haunted Home, also the bass in both of those songs. And yeah, so I kind of jump in where there needs to be a little more.
Yeah, sounds good. I really love that. I mean, especially if you're in uni for music, right? I mean, that just gives so much more to it in a way that you can experience a lot more probably than maybe other artists.
Yeah, exactly.
From all your songs in general, I mean, you've already released some songs prior to that EP now. What was your favorite to release or to write? What was the most fun for you?
I think it was the Saga because it's so dynamic in so many ways and is like definitely a story because you can notice if you look at the song and how it's built up, it's not a classic mainstream kind of dynamic shift in it. It very much goes like a story would go, like a saga, and that's really what I want to do. So I really love that song, and also because I play violin on it, is
Wow.
it's very dear to me.
Yeah, it's nice. I really, as I said, like I enjoyed listening to that song. Generally, I think your fans after listening to that AP are really excited for your music, maybe. So will there be more music coming out? Is there going to be an album in the future? What is
Yeah,
happening?
definitely. We're gonna start recording new songs soon, and it's gonna be under the same umbrella as Pluviophilic Poetry because that title is for an album that is about 10 to 12 songs long, and it's a whole universe really that I'm trying to build, um, that also has this story to it, that is a book that is gonna like play with the music. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, sounds really promising. You already mentioned it, like your name from the whole EP is so interesting. I researched a little bit what the name pluviophile even is because I didn't know. And my research said it's a person who enjoys all facets of rain. Why did you choose that name? Is it something that personally connects to you, or what is it?
Yeah, I love, love, love rain. Like, that is my soul, basically. Every time it rains, I'm like, ah, I have to go outside. Um, and so this album and the whole universe is rain obsessed in a way. I like to like translate it as rain obsessed poetry because all of the songs are inspired by or written during rain. And when the album is out, you can follow it through the Saga being the first song and then go through the whole set list, and you see that it starts at like a land that doesn't have any rain, but then it starts to rain and then it rains more and more and becomes a storm, and then you drown, which is the ocean hymn where you drown. And then everything gets better and there's a rainbow. So that's what it's about.
Yeah, really interesting. I love how you conceptualize that kind of idea behind the album. So it has like a own lore behind it, or like as you said, like the fairy tale vibe that is really realized by it. Yeah, so maybe let's talk about some old songs of yours. Your most listened song is Rose of Somebody's. For me, lyrical wise, it kind of seemed like it was a little like a hymn to life and death in a way. Maybe can you explain the lyricism about that?
Yeah, definitely. You're spot on with that. It's about the circle of life, and it's inspired by Work Song by Hosier. And when I listen to it, like that chorus is also very much about that kind of theme. And I just started sitting, like, I sat down at the piano and started thinking about those lyrics and nature. And I thought it was a very interesting thing to think about, like trees and how their roots are, in the ground where there are like bodies of both humans and animals and everything like that. And I came up with rows of somebody's because then I was thinking about a cemetery and how there's rows of bodies in the ground, which is very morbid, but I just loved how that sounded and also how beautiful the circle of life is. That's what I want the song to represent, that it's this heroine in the story that is scared of death, but then at the end of the song, she realizes that you shouldn't be like afraid to die because it's the natural circle of life and there's some beauty in all of that.
Yeah, it sounds really beautiful. It was also interesting to me. I looked at your online profiles, of course, and there you also talk about, the faults of the music industry in a way with that song, and also the importance of rights of musicians. Can you a little bit talk about your own experience and, what you want to maybe say to other young musicians that experience something like that?
Yeah, so like the music industry right now is very big and scary for people who don't really know what is happening. And I think it's very important to stay educated and learn what your rights are in the field that you are in to really know how to navigate contracts and just know everything, because there are so many stories of people that lose their rights of their music and everything like that. And I think it's very important to not get to that point. I think everyone deserves to have control over their own music and their own words and their own thoughts.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, we as a magazine, of course, see that all the time as well. How it also destroys careers, in a way. So it's beautiful that you spoke up about it because I think it's really important, a really important message. Um, Generally, also maybe for your fans, I know like some people probably want to see you live maybe at some point. Is there already something planned for the upcoming year, maybe, or is this still in the plans?
There's definitely plans being made, but nothing is set yet.
All right, so we will see in the
Yeah.
future. Um, Maybe lastly, besides your own music, what do you listen to? You already, named Hosier, but maybe we have our own artist recommendation playlist on Spotify where our artists that we interview always put in, their two favorite songs, either of the moment or in general. Can you name something that you really like to listen to?
Um, I love Nick Cave. That is one of my biggest inspirations. Just the way he is really, like, him himself is a concept. So I think my favorite song by him is probably People Ain't No Good. And then, hmm, there are many, 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 many. Um, what comes to mind is, I guess, The Last Dinner Party. I love Beautiful Boy by The Last Dinner Party. I saw them live at a festival in Sweden last August, so 2023. And that was like, they had 38,000 followers on Instagram. And I just went to the stage because they were playing the smallest stage, and I went there to like see them because I saw one TikTok of theirs and I was like, okay, they have a cool name, so I want to see them. And I stood front row, and I was like it was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and Beautiful Boy just stood out so much to me. So ever since then, that's been my favorite song.
Yeah, I totally can relate to that. I saw Last Dinner Party also live when I was seeing Hosier. So I think they're amazing. So totally good choice for the playlist.
Yeah.
Our last question is about your unseen essential for producing music or writing music. What is your personal unseen essential while, doing music?
Do you mean a thing or like a
Could
concept?
be anything. I mean, either maybe name a thing and a concept or something that you usually do, maybe something like a tradition you do, whatever comes to mind.
Hmm. A concept that I really love when producing is the way I edit vocals. And I really love stacking um in so many different ways, different harmonies and different textures of voice is also really cool. I love dubbing um my main vocal with just me whispering the vocals. It just sounds so cool. So that is one of my essentials definitely that I always do. And a thing. I mean, I guess like my lip balm. Like I'm addicted to my lip balm. If I didn't have that, I would never be able to sing really because I don't know, it's an OCD thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important things, honestly. Like, I can relate. Totally good things to have. Well, that's about it already. Thank you for being here and, taking your time to do an interview with us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It was really fun.